All right, here we go. We are live once again for another market open. Hello, everybody. It is March 20th, 2023. This time 3 years ago, I think we were officially in a pandemic, officially in a lockdown, right? This March 20th, 3 years ago, that's when I think the market, that's when we had that bottom during COVID. That's when the S&P went from like 315 to like 250, something like that. 3 years later, my oh my, has the world changed. We are now in a new world. We've gone through a market that is catapulted into astronomical levels and then come down simply because a lot of that time was filled with too much froth and greed and pictures of rocks that were selling for $2 million. But now we're here. We are back here. Pharaoh Towers, hello. Good morning, mate. Love the positive vibes you bring to during the market open. Thank you for being here. Appreciate Aaron Sharp, Glitch Life, Philip, TJ, Vincent, Foolish Hiker. Coffee in the market open is my new favorite morning routine. I love it. Vincent says, AI day NVIDIA. Will it do a Tesla AI day? Yeah, it's going to be interesting. NVIDIA. All right, so let's get right into the market. There's a lot of stuff that we've got to talk about. I think the primary thing that happened over the weekend is that UBS has now decided to buy Credit Suisse in a deal for about $3 billion, which is kind of insane that this is actually happening. If we go to Credit Suisse right here, as we can see, it's kind of it's down 54% in the pre-market. I believe it's getting bought at like 53 cents a share, something like that. So this is incredible. The $17 billion of corporate debt bonds that were available for Credit Suisse are now worthless. Credit Suisse has been around for, a long time, right? If we just go to their max chart, they've been around since, they went public in 94. So probably been around a little bit longer than that. UBS buying them signals such distress in the financial ecosystem for the fact that a bank like UBS has to buy them just to make sure that liquidity and overall confidence in the financial system stays like sane, right? Doesn't absolutely fall off a cliff. It's incredible that this is happening right now. However, it does seem like this is the right thing to happen. It seems like this is the right thing to happen. Seems like this is better than letting it ultimately, fall off a cliff and die. S&P at 390, up 0.18% in the pre-market. And it seems like this is what's needed for the trust in the global banking ecosystem to be okay. NVIDIA down 0.10% at 257 in the pre-market. FRC is down 17%. So shares were down 32% on Friday, down another 17% today, now under $20 at 1908 pre-market. UBS and CS obviously showing that there is some, cause for worry in the global banking system. And even though FRC got $30 billion of deposits, $5 billion, I believe, from 6 really strong banks, Citigroup, JP Morgan, Goldman Sachs, Bank of America, etc., it hasn't been able to retain enough consumer confidence, even if deposits are the same. And so it's going to be interesting to kind of see where they end up. Matt says, on my way to the office to use Palantir so you greedy Americans can have all your oil that you claim not to need. We need the oil, man. We need the oil. Can you cover why Wejo had the big spike? I actually don't know why they had the big spike. So if we go to Wejo, it's now it's down 21%. So that tells you all you need to know. As you can see, Wejo right here, right? It was at 38 cents, went up to 75. I think it was into the market close. It was like during power hour on Friday. And now it's down at 59 cents, down 21%. I have no idea why this happened. Either an institution bought up some shares and, that it just had a really big print and the float is low. I don't think they've already done the reverse mergers and stuff like that. Like nothing could have happened from a technical perspective that would cause the stock to go up that we wouldn't know about. Someone had to buy. Someone big had to buy. And obviously it wasn't retail because retail is not pushing the stock. It had to be some type of institution. I just don't know what. It's 75 on the RSI right now. So obviously from a technical perspective, it seems overvalued. But I love Wejo, the company. It's just the stock is in a tough situation. They need at least another year of solid earnings to be able to justify even getting back to $2-3, So in this economy, it's going to be a bit hard for that to happen. Good morning. Rate hike or no rate hike? I think we're getting a rate hike, probably 25. Not going to be 50, given all the madness that's going on with banks. I would have said 50 2 weeks ago if the banking crisis had not happened in terms of SVB and now Credit Suisse. But I think the market would, Powell is going to be a little bit more nicer to the market and not go into a momentum. What else we got? Did Amit buy Wejo, which is why it spikes? No, I did not buy Wejo. I never bought Wejo, to be honest, even though, again, I know the company really well, but I just never bought them because I made a video a long time ago. If you type it on YouTube, Amit SPACs versus Palantir. And my whole thesis in that video, this is probably like February 2022 or something, was like Palantir is an ETF for these SPACs. So I'd rather just get exposure to them. We've got Enphase up 2% at 187. I bought 15 shares of Enphase on Friday as it dipped below 200. Was very excited to officially establish an Enphase position. So that's really cool. We had on our Palantir Weekly podcast, we talked about something that I didn't make a full video on, but I put a clip out, which is that the NHS deal is likely confirmed, given they got a memo that said in the UK, every hospital should start transferring patient data into Palantir software, which to me, I mean, like, I don't know how much more obvious it has to get that they've got the deal now that doctors and hospitals are preparing to transport their data into Palantir software. So it's a matter of when they're going to announce it at this point. That's going to be 500 million over the next 5 years, which is another 100 million in top line revenue for Palantir. So we're getting what 100 million from bonds and treasuries. If we needed to just inch towards GAAP profitability for the year, I think the NHS deal kind of pushes us over the edge along with what we're getting in short-term treasuries. So looks like we should be profitable for the year. Question just becomes then, how much more can we grow? And the main thing why this NHS deal is so important is because it sets the precedent for us to get other national healthcare deals as well. I mean, like, to manage 70 million people's healthcare in the back end and to be able to do it effectively to the point where we could potentially reduce backlogs and actually not make it the bureaucratic, horribleness, if that's a word that it is in the UK. That sets a very big precedent, and we might not have the effects of that for another couple of years, but to solve that problem with the complexities of data that's involved means that we're going to be solving a lot more bigger problems in the future. And that's going to be really exciting. Tesla is 178 pre-market, Apple 155, relatively flat. Triple QQQ 24 down 0.41% in the pre-market. Microsoft 277. Microsoft is also down a bit in the pre-market. Jennifer, thank you for being here. Jennifer, one of my amazing Twitter friends. Love Jennifer. Thank you for being here. Good morning, Jennifer. It means the world to admit that you Gabe texted me the other day. He was like, you say it means the world often. And I'm like, bro, I know I say that to everybody. Michael, thank you for being here. It means the world that you're here, bro. But it honestly means the world to me, bro. Like it really does. It's just it means a lot for people to come in and join. Hey, Amit, finally after a week-long business trip, I'm able to join live. Thank you for another market open. Thank you for being here, Martin. By the way, I have an announcement that I want to ask you guys after I do the market open. Like after the bell, I want to see if you guys think it's a decent idea, and I want to see what you guys think. So right when we do the market open, I'm going to ask. I've started listening to you while I work out. I need to work off that meal I made last night. Yo, Glitch Life, we were talking on Discord. Glitch Life literally has the craziest life. Glitch, we need to do a podcast or something, because we did a podcast on Ginkgo Bioworks, but we need to do a podcast on your life because their life is actually insane. It's your birthday, my guy. Or are you saying we have the same birthday? Or is today your birthday? Let me know if this is the correct one or not. No, today's your birthday. That's what you're saying. Today's your birthday. Well, happy birthday, Michael. Michael is a amazing guy in the gym. I actually worked out today in the morning. I woke up at 5 a.m., got a nice workout in. I worked out with my mom downstairs. We did a bunch of different exercises. So I actually feel really good. So shout out to you, Mike. Happy birthday, man. Coinbase at 74. We also have Bitcoin mooning. Where we got Bitcoin? BTC. Where is it? We've got Bitcoin above $28,000. And we're going to talk about some of the interesting reasons Bitcoin is up 35% after the market open. All right, here we go. We got 10 seconds. And then on March 20th, 2023, the 175 people that are here, you guys are going to get ready to see the market open with me. And I appreciate you all being here. It means the world. 9:30 a.m. The stock market in the United States of America is now open. Wake your ass up. The market is open. Bitcoin above 28,000. Palantir at 776, down 1.52%. Wejo down 24% at 57 cents. Black Sky, another Palantir SPAC, up 2%, 134. Tritium charging DCFC now up 5% as well. This is another Palantir SPAC. S&P 391. The S&P is not falling down to the levels of 3,200 like a lot of Wall Street analysts have expected, even though we've had a major banking crisis. So the S&P is still holding on strong. Nvidia at 255. Enphase 189. Enphase is a runner. It runs really well. It's basically at my average right now. Let's see if it holds up or if it falls below a little bit on the levels of 180. Nvidia again at 256. I believe Nvidia is incredibly overvalued, but I'm a little bit scared to buy puts on it. But Nvidia is flat in the morning. SoFi at 543. Arc Innovation 38. Meta 198. $2 away from 200. TikTok ban news probably has Meta staying closer to 200. We'll see if it actually gets banned or if it gets sold off. If it gets banned, Meta is going to the moon. If it gets sold off, Meta will get some benefit, but not that much benefit because it'll still be allowed in the United States. Coinbase at 76. Coinbase will be mooning with Bitcoin as Bitcoin keeps going up. So that's one to keep an eye on. Tesla 177, down 1.47%. Spotify 125. Roblox 43. NASDAQ 11,602. So it was 11,700 on Friday. So down just a little bit. Netflix also down a little bit from Friday. It was at 310, now at $300. Snapchat 1077. Robinhood 911. And we got Microsoft, I believe, at 260. What do we have on Microsoft? We've got 276 on Microsoft, actually. So Microsoft also flat from Friday. Hello, Mitt. It means the world for me to hear the bell. You guys are hilarious, bro. You guys are, I love you guys. Okay, so I want to pose a quick question to you guys real quick, and then I don't want to take too long with this, and then I want to keep going into the market. Okay, so I'm thinking of doing exactly what Meet Kevin does every morning in addition to the morning live stream. So what does Meet Kevin do? And I think it's a brilliant idea. So I want to just pose this to the community and see what you guys say. He does a live stream, right, for like an hour and a half. My live stream would maybe be 45 minutes or an hour. And he covers like 6 topics or whatever. I would cover 5 topics for about 8 minutes each. So that's about 40 minutes, give or take 5 or 10 minutes. So I would do a 40-minute live stream from 6 a.m. Eastern to 7 a.m. Eastern. And that live stream would basically be me making my videos for the day. So instead of recording 5 separate videos, I would do a live stream. You would call it the Amit show or whatever. And that would happen daily. And then those videos, I could easily just download that file and I could clip it into 8 different videos. So those that don't get to watch live stream, they get to see the clips. And then I do the morning live stream from 9:20 to 10. It would require me waking up an hour earlier, but I think it would help so much in terms of content. And I don't expect everyone to be there or watch that because I know that's super early. But basically, I get to record a live stream. I get to get all the things I would cover for the day. And then the morning stream would be even better because I would have done all this research 2 hours before to know exactly what to talk about. That's what I'm thinking of doing. I want to get your guys' thoughts on it. Because it would save so much time from just recording the videos. If you just do the live stream, it lives on YouTube. Then you download that thing. It becomes the different clips. Like what Meet Kevin's doing is just absolutely genius. I'm like, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And if you have the capacity to talk on the spot without making too many mistakes, which, I have the ability to do because I've been doing it for a while and Meet Kevin does it at a phenomenal level, then I think it's a good idea. So let me know what you guys think. And I think I might try it out in a minute or two. Promote coupons? No, we're not promoting coupons there. Okay, let's get into some of the other parts of the market and see what else is going on. We've obviously got the Credit Suisse news. The Dow rises 200 points. Now, I want to get some insight into Credit Suisse. So let's go on CNBC and let's see what they're talking about and see kind of what is the latest updates for why this is happening and kind of how it's going from there. Okay, let's take a look at this. The U.S. banking system is still good in a capital position. Let's see why this is the case. So let's take a look at that. Let's pull that up. All right, here we go.
More on what this means for the U.S. banking sector, though, we are joined by Devin Ryan. He's the Director of Financial Technology Research for JMP Securities. Good morning to you. You probably heard the last conversation we've been having, both about the Fed, but also about why some of the regional banks in the U.S. that we've had question marks over haven't had these type of arranged marriages, a la what we saw over the weekend in Switzerland.
Hey, good morning, Andrew. So I think the challenge right now is that I think the U.S. banking system, from a capital position and just from a strength position is in a good spot. The challenge is that confidence and stability aren't there at the moment. And so if you look at what happened at Silicon Valley, they were on a pretty extreme end of the spectrum in terms of asset liability duration mismatch and some of their other issues. And so that is a standout. And so I think a lot of the other banks are looking at their position saying we don't look like that, and yet there's still this little bit of crisis of confidence going on right now. So I think that's the push and pull right now, and it's really tough for I think equity investors to underwrite all of those moving parts.
Devin, what is your sense of deposit flight? It's all anecdotal from my perspective. I'm calling around, obviously, and hearing from some of the big banks that the phones are not ringing off the hooks the way they used to, or at least a week ago. That would seemingly be good news. That news, though, if that is true, is not reflective of the stock prices of these banks.
Yeah, so that's my impression as well. That I think the first couple of days there, no one knew what was going on. So money was moving. I think money, in some cases, actually, we even heard that last night. Some money has moved back to certain banks. But I think it's not one size fits all. I do think that money did move around in those first few days, and so that affects earnings power too for companies as you lose depositors, and so therefore you're at.
Now, everything he's saying about the banking collapse and sort of the crisis and the lack of confidence that is left in the system, even though most people on Wall Street think that the banks are going to be okay, that things are not going to collapse, and that there is enough firepower in the system to the point where we're not giving these are not loans that have been given to consumers in terms of these mortgage-backed securities that are now being defaulted, right? Like literally you had nurses making $30,000 a year buying like $400,000 houses that they couldn't afford in 2008. That was kind of the crisis that was boiling up. It's not as extreme as that. It's just rather the Fed has increased rates and tightened the economy in such a way that banks didn't do effective risk management, or at least particular regional banks, which is why they're collapsing. But that's not an internal problem with the infrastructure of the banking sector of the United States. Now, while that's the case, there is someone who disagrees. Okay. There is someone who disagrees with that. And that person who disagrees with this, his name is called Balaji Srivasan. For those that don't know this person, he has made, and this is the biggest news I think that broke over the weekend. I was listening to him on a Twitter space. It was incredibly interesting to see what he was saying. He has made a bet with someone on Twitter, random Twitter account, that Bitcoin will go to $1 million in 90 days. And that's more of marketing rather than just like the actual bet. Like he's going to put up the money for the bet. $1 million to him is not a big deal. Balaji has made a lot of money, former CTO of Coinbase. But his argument is that the dollar is inflating at such a level that in 90 days, Bitcoin or some asset, some type of digital gold, his favorite being Bitcoin, will be the only thing that is left to actually preserve any value. And again, 90 days, that is his timeline. So he's saying that's what, imagine this graph, but in fast forward, that's what happens when people exit a failing fiat currency and enter gold. In this case, they'll exit the dollar and enter digital gold. The bet isn't a way to make money. It's a way to alert innocent dollar holders get to Bitcoin. When he's talking about his bet, he's talking about the $1 million bet that he's put up with someone. So if Bitcoin doesn't get to $1 million in 90 days, he will pay out $1 million to the person that he made a bet with. Think about how lucky you are to having tweet that and for him to just randomly quote tweet you and say, let's do a bet. Like, I wish that was the case. Like, because I don't think Bitcoin's going to $1 million in 90 days. And if Bitcoin's not going to $1 million in 90 days, that means the dollar is still worth something. So look, he says in 2021, the worst bet was long-term treasuries. In 2023, the worst bet is short-term treasuries. These are like 1 to 3 month short-term treasuries, because in the event people exit to Bitcoin during this time, you have 3 big risks. You are illiquid, your assets can be frozen, and your assets can be quickly devalued. Now, the reason we've seen Bitcoin spike about 35% and about 10 to 15% over the weekend, I believe is primarily because of this guy. For those that don't know this guy, he is not just some random kind of Michael Saylor, and Michael Saylor is not even random, but he's not a type of guy that's just screaming Bitcoin to the moon. He is one of the most respected voices in the crypto space. Like, when it comes to crypto, he's up there as one of the guys that people really follow. He has 800,000 Twitter followers that people really care about, and that really people listen to his ideas, you know, in a meaningful way. So when he's saying Bitcoin to $1 million in 90 days because the banks are insolvent, and that the crisis that's happening in the financial banking system was manipulated to the point where the Fed knew what they were doing, and the $300 billion we printed over the past week to basically bail out Silicon Valley Bank, has led to a vertical movement in terms of the money supply, which is kind of denying all the quantitative tightening we've been doing over the past couple of weeks in terms of reducing the money supply and therefore reducing inflation, will lead to some type of hyperinflation. That is his argument. And as a result of that, Bitcoin, I believe personally, is going up, not because that's actually accurate, but because people believe in his message so much that they are coming together to pump Bitcoin up. And the sad thing is, if he's going to sell out of Bitcoin when it gets to like 60, 70K, because he's probably going to make much more than the $1 million he bet on, then a lot of people will be left holding the bag. But I kind of don't think he would do that. I kind of think he's a lot more genuine than that, and he actually believes in Bitcoin. The question is just if it's real, if it's going to happen. Respected voices in the crypto space is an oxymoron. But how many people who have enough money to spend 28K for a Bitcoin for a big deal will buy Bitcoin just in case it happens? This ironically could raise Bitcoin considerably. Yeah, I agree. And I think he expects it not to go to 1 million, but he expects it to go up at least a little bit. It's in order to make his bags less heavier. You could also be your own bank with Bitcoin. Both are risky. There's like 5 people or so who I listen to and respect their opinions on here. And Amit and Kevin are both on my list. Jason, I appreciate you. And yeah, thanks for being here. I think I'm going to start that live stream, guys. I think I am, because it'll make my life easier in terms of making videos. And I think it'll be cool to and I get to do almost 3 live streams a day. Yeah, because I do late night stock talks with Chris. So the content is going to be like, we're going to see if we can get this channel to 100K. Like the content's just going to be coming out. And so we'll see what we can do. Again, content on YouTube. If anyone wants any tips on this, just DM me on Twitter. I'd be happy to talk about it. Amit is investing. Content on YouTube is a different animal. I mean, I've just been studying it all this weekend, and it's like it's difficult. It's partly the reason I have my own startup, Audia.io, where I think there's much less competition to stand out and get your voice out there. But YouTube is like a different animal. It's just unbelievably different in terms of how to get your voice out there. And you got to produce a lot. And I think me, Kevin, figured that out. Like, and at least in the finance space, if you're not producing close to 4 to 5 videos a day, it's hard, man. It's really hard. Because Graham, to me, is not really a content creator in the finance space. He's more of like a general finance guy, which is why he gets away with 2 videos a week. But we're competing with CNBC as individual finance channels, and they're pumping out like trillions of videos a day, right? So it's just hard. Bank of America at 28. JP Morgan at 1.2%, up 127. You'd think the banks would be down a little bit more, but the banks are doing okay. Charles Schwab up 5%, 4.56%. Not too bad as well. Roku is down. Coinbase is up. Goldman Sachs also up 1.53%. Goldman Sachs announced I think $30 billion share buyback about 3 weeks ago. So that's one of the things that's keeping Goldman up afloat as well. We struggle on YouTube. Yeah. Quarantine Quartet, these guys are killing it on Instagram, but YouTube's just harder. It's just harder. $1 million that the bet that the bricks aren't real. You know what? I'm willing to take that bet, to be honest. I am willing to do that. I am willing to do that. All right, the U.S. economy is incredibly tricky, and it's going to get worse. Let's take a look at a bearish case and see what people have got to say.
Mark Grant, Chief Global Strategist at Collier Securities. Mark, I was reading your notes from last night, and it was following the arranged marriage that we saw. You said it's a good sign that the futures are up a little or okay. Then I got up this morning, the futures were down 350, and I said I'm going to have to ask Mark Grant something totally different about this, whether this is working. Now they're back down 28 points or so. So it's a fluid situation. Do you think things are stabilizing at this point, in your view?
No, Joe, I don't. I think this is an incredibly messy situation, and I think it's going to get worse.
Bro, my guy's glasses are on a different level. I wish I had those glasses, bro. That's wild.
I have the advantage. I've been on Wall Street 49 years this coming April and seen a lot of stuff. Let me start with what's going on in Europe. The UBS says they're not going to pay the AT1 bonds or the COCO bonds, which are higher ranking than the equity, but they're going to give the equity holders some money. And there's going to be massive lawsuits, in my opinion, because of this. And the takeover of Credit Suisse.
All right, we can't listen to this guy, bro. This guy is like just I can't listen to. It's hard to listen to this dude. All right, let's get to an actual UBS CS clip. I tried to listen to this guy. It's like, nope, can't do it. All right, UBS-CS. Let's see what's going on here. This was a forced marriage.
Is here to talk about containing the banking contagion and the broader executive of Barclays institutions at familiar the individual.
I look at 2008 and I look at our own experience with the acquisition of Lehman Brothers and how different that was than what just happened, Joe. And, in 2008, with Bear Stearns failing and being taken over by JP Morgan around Easter, I think it was, between then and when we acquired Lehman's U.S. business, it was like 6 months, 5 months. We had 3 or 4 board meetings to discuss if there's another shoe to fall. Lehman, Barclays, is it a fit? Lehman and Barclays Capital was an extraordinary fit. We had meetings with the Treasury about if there's another shoe to fall with Bob Steele, what would the process look like? And so we really wanted to acquire Lehman. It was like a high-performing organization with a really bad portfolio of commercial real estate. If somehow you could resolve that commercial real estate, much like Merrill Lynch, much like Morgan Stanley, much like Goldman Sachs, they all had an issue with credit, but were really high-performing operations if you could solve that problem. So we really went after Lehman, and in the first year, we paid $1.75 billion. So not that different than the price being paid here. We thought of it as the price of the building, and I think that's what they're thinking of it in Switzerland. It was $10 billion in income in the first year. This is very different. This is a shotgun marriage. I mean, this is a forced association. And I think if you believe what you read, then the chairman of UBS, Colm Kelleher, was saying for weeks and weeks and months that wasn't the right solution. So this was very much a forced marriage in my mind, this wasn't a solvency issue for Credit Suisse. They failed. They're bankrupt. They can't make money. I think the real issue is you look out at the next couple of years, it's very hard to create a scenario where they're profitable. And I think that was.
I think that's one of the biggest things he's saying as we see these banks, First Republic down 18%, and we have all these other banks up just a little bit. It's hard to imagine a world in which Credit Suisse becomes profitable in the next couple of years. And that's why UBS is getting such a massive discount, because they're like, you guys don't have any leverage here. This is like, you guys are screwed, for lack of a better word. And the only way to save this now is for us to kind of come in and ultimately solve this issue. Sachin, thank you for being here. Good evening from Asian. Oh, that's awesome. That's so dope. Those are Kazal glasses. His glasses were interesting. Ty Gordon says, but he was going to make us an offer we can't refuse. His glasses look taped to his face. It's the Iron Man, Spider-Man glasses to order down the drawer. Bro, I love as a community we can roast all these random CNBC people when they deserve to be roasted, okay? Because some of these guys, they deserve to be roasted. We don't roast everybody, but some of them, it's just some of these guys, those glasses were. I mean, he literally looked like he was from like Back to the Future or something. It was like the 1990s movie. Bitcoin at 27,870. Microsoft at 273. You know, the cool thing though is even if he had those glasses, if he sounded super dope, like if he was a great presenter, like if he sounded super exciting and interesting, it would have been worth it. But then he sounds like the most boring person on the planet. And you're like, all right, you can't have those glasses and also be boring. First Republic down 13% under 20. S&P still holding up nicely at 390. What else do we got? We got Square at 73. We have earnings in a month. It's so crazy because I feel like we just got through earnings, but we have earnings in a month. That's the cool thing about covering stocks. It's like every 3 months you have earnings, and earnings last for like almost a month, right? Because there's so many different companies you want to cover and go into. But we're going to get them pretty soon. Snowflake at 133, Salesforce at 183. Salesforce is down now. Salesforce had a phenomenal earnings, but even it's not able to fully maintain its entire earnings run. Let's go to Uber. I haven't seen Uber in a while. Uber's at $31. Uber's an interesting one. Some people have asked me for my thoughts on Uber. Again, I just think Uber is a little bit overvalued at $64 billion. It was one of those companies that made the VCs a lot of money, but I don't know if it's going to make shareholders a lot of money. I also don't see where their next S-curve of growth is. Uber Aviation is kind of like not happening anymore, from what I understand. Uber Eats is great, but the core Uber business, it's a great business. I just don't know if it's going at the point where you would pay $64 billion for it. That would be harder. And finance sounding boring is a good sign that you are a club member. That is so correct. That is so correct. That is true. It's ASEAN. Oh, okay. That's how you say it. ASEAN. What are people buying today? Yeah, put in the comments below. What are you buying today? Again, we've got Bitcoin at 27,916. I'm curious if some people are actually going to be buying Bitcoin. I have not FOMO'd into Bitcoin. I'm probably never going to FOMO into Bitcoin. It's one of those things I've decided that I'm if it goes to 60K, I'm totally fine with looking at it go to 60K and kind of just deal with the ramifications of it going to 60K. Nvidia down to 254, so down just a little bit. S&P to 391. We've got Google at 101. So Google was stuck in the $90 range for a really long time. It's at 39 on the RSI. It's trading at a 19.7 PE. And it's putting up $70 billion in revenue as it did last quarter. One could argue that Google is either fairly valued or a bit undervalued. I don't think you could argue Google is overvalued until you bring in the qualitative analysis that their search business is going to die or at least significantly begin to slow down in growth because of the advancements of things like ChatGPT. Now, if you believe in that, Google is not a good buy. If you don't believe that's really going to have any type of material impact, Google is probably, not necessarily the worst buy in the world. Amazon as well at 96. Amazon was stuck in the $80 range for about a month, now breaking up to 96. Remember, Amazon did $41 billion of advertising last year. Those are $40 billion, about $11 billion a quarter, that did not go to Google or Meta. And I think that's an emerging sector of the business that's incredibly interesting that didn't exist 3 years ago. Like that wasn't, Amazon search ads weren't as big of a deal. And now they're printing $10 to $11 billion a quarter, which is just another sector of Amazon's business that allows it to diversify a little bit more from AWS, which is not really slowing in growth, but it's not growing at the level that it was a while ago. Enphase ripping. Where's Enphase? Where is it at? It's at, see, where is it going? 194. Yeah. We talked about this on Finance Junkies last night. Enphase rips. And when it rips, it rips. There's something about this stock that when there are some stocks that are just volatile on the upside. And they're not, like, Enphase is not as volatile on the downside. Like, because it's gone down, but not as, like, when it starts to rip, it just starts to rip. And so that's also why I was like, I'd rather start the DCA. Some people are like, oh, I'll touch Enphase at 150. I don't know if it gets to 150. And that's why I DCA'd on Friday, because under 200 was my bare minimum. I'm like, I'm not touching it if it's above 200 because I just don't feel comfortable doing that. But 150, I think the range is a little bit too much. Now, granted, we could get there, but we would have to see. I mean, if Enphase is at 150, I would imagine the S&P goes to like 360-ish, 375-ish at least. And I don't know if that's necessarily happening. So we're going to have to see. Growth is volatile. That is correct. Tesla rips as well. Now, Tesla's been more chill over that because obviously Tesla is not a $25 billion company. It's a $700 billion company. But when Tesla rips, it also does rip. I mean, it went from earnings. It went from 140 to 160 that day on earnings. And then since then, catapulted to 213. Now it's down back to 170. But Tesla's also a stock that rips as well. Enphase is freaky because it was part of the meme stock era. Yeah, Enphase was part of the meme stock era, but Enphase is legit from the due diligence I've done. Same with Palantir. So, some of those meme stock era stocks will have a little bit of residue, but I don't know if they're going to necessarily continue to be moving as meme stocks. Okay, let's take a look of this. We'll have to see if it's a dovish hike or a hawkish pause by the Fed. Also, I'm going to poll the community right now what you guys think if we're getting 25 or 50 basis points as I play this video.
Guys, we're going to be hitting this theme throughout the hour tonight. Problems that are more or less under control now, but markets worry they could escalate and get out of control in the future. As you look around the markets tonight, what's your biggest escalation worry going into next week, Joe?
I think the Fed is what we're going to look forward to coming into this week, because coming into this year, the biggest question on investors' minds was when was the Fed going to end their rate hiking cycle? And the ongoing belief was that it was going to be when inflation came down and economic reports showed that the economy was slowing down. But last week threw a wrench into all that with Silicon Valley Bank. So now the Fed has to consider if all of their rate hikes could potentially lead to problems in the banking system. So I think we need to be defensive and wait for clarity as far as for next week. Wait to hear what we hear from the Fed and any ongoing news from the financial sector.
Delano, same question to you as you look into next week. Is there escalation risk out there on your horizon?
Yeah, I think what Joe mentioned with the Fed and what's going to happen next week, I think that's one aspect of it. I think if you look at, also the earnings estimates that we have on the S&P and different areas for different companies, those estimates were although not too high, the projections may have to be lowered down or re-rated down a little bit. If you now look at what's going on within the banking system, I think we have, at some point regulation come in and get tighter. I think you have the banks that will be a little bit more risk averse when it comes to lending. And I think that ultimately could potentially slow down our economy. You saw Goldman lower their projections on GDP and other banks doing the same. And so I think that's another risk that investors have to look at. I still do anticipate a 25 bips rate hike. And I think that, we've been rallying, as Mike was saying, in the tech sector because of that skew away from, the banks. So those are areas also for investors to look at.
Mike, go ahead, jump in here with a question.
Yeah, Joe, I guess I'd love to hear your thoughts on whether we can continue to have this kind of selective market where you do have a lot of the growth stocks that have kind of their own stories, and they had a tough year last year, can continue to really buffer what's going on in the rest of the market because of all the macro stress.
Yeah, this week for sure, the biggest question was on investors' minds is what the Fed is going to do, and also considering rebalancing, how to rebalance people's portfolios. And as you mentioned earlier, the S&P was up 1.4%, but the NASDAQ was up 4.4%. So as I always like to say, it's not the news, it's the market's reaction to the news. And market participants.
I think it's pretty obvious we're going to get 25, but I was wrong last time. I said 50 and we got 25. I think, look, the case for 50, remember the tightening of these of rates and rising them as expeditiously as we did over the past year is what has in turn to an extent caused the banking crisis, because a lot of the banks did not see this happening. Granted, they didn't take particular risk management, but also the Fed kind of did a 180 on them and just started raising rates almost dramatically, right? Which is why you've had a lot of people be very angry at the Fed. At some level, if you have a contagion-esque situation happening where FRC still can't get the support of the stock market, even though it just got $30 billion in deposits because banks have come together to say, we're not going to let 2008 happen again. That means there's some public mistrust. And the perception of that might lead the Fed to feel that we need to be less hawkish, that we need to ultimately decide that this is just not in the best interest of the country to go up 50 tomorrow or on Wednesday. It's like, we can do that the next time, but let's do 25. Additionally, with the fact that inflation has been coming down meaningfully well. And so you put inflation coming down and everything that's going on with the banks, I think 25 is on the table. I think if inflation came down and we didn't have a banking crisis, I think we would definitely have 50 because the Fed would want to even be more aggressive. I don't think we're getting a pause. A pause to me is, it's going to be unlikely that I think that happens. The Fed might do zero hike. Canada announced they will do. Canada announced they were going to do zero hike? Really? It paused? Wow. That is interesting. I didn't expect that. Huh. That is, yeah, they didn't change. That's true. March 8th. Yeah, look at this right here. Now, obviously, Canada is way different from the United States. I don't think the Fed is going to pause. I think that would be a really interesting thing. Look at this. January 25th, we got 450, and then March 8th, we stayed at 450. We did not change. So interest rates were 0.25 January 26, 2022. A year later, it's at 4.5. So up significantly about a year and a couple months later, but it's unchanged month over month, or yeah, from January to March overall. We need Volcker rate hikes to crush inflation. Jerome fears hyperinflation. But see, that's the thing. I don't think we're gonna have hyperinflation. I think it's coming down, and it's if we look at the data that we see over the past couple of months, it seems like it's coming down nicely. It's just a question of how bad it's going to be. Inflation numbers are way better than last time. The last time they increased to 25. I cannot see any reason for 50, especially since there is a banking crisis. Yeah, I think if there was not a banking crisis, we would get 50. But Signature Valley Bank failed. FRC, it's being saved, but the stock price is on the verge of collapse. Silicon Valley Bank goes up into flames. FDIC limits basically go from 250,000 to whatever. It doesn't matter. The FDIC is like, hey, we're gonna make sure you're whole no matter what. You've got multiple bank runs on different regional banks, or at least the perception of a lot of different runs happening. I don't think the Fed can be that aggressive with 50 basis. I just don't think they can be that aggressive. A pause or 50 would be decisive, so neither will happen. That is correct. That's one of the best comments. A pause would be decisive, and 50 would be decisive, but the Fed is not decisive, and they never want to be decisive. Oh, I said Signature Valley Bank. Oh my gosh. I meant to say Signature Bank of New York. I said Signature Valley Bank. Wow. That's might as well, right? Be Signature Valley Bank. Oh man, that's absolutely crazy. And now you've got this Trump news today, right? If I mean, we don't know how the market's going to react if Trump gets indicted or arrested. Trump said on Truth Social over the weekend that he thinks he's going to go to jail, or he thinks he's going to get arrested. Elon Musk tweeted that if that happens, you can basically kiss the presidency to Trump. I think that might have some impact on the market. If I don't know how big of an impact it would have, but we'll see over the next, couple hours today or tomorrow if we're getting someone going to jail like Donald Trump. Because if that happens, I think that's also going to be a pretty big thing. President Xi has arrived to Moscow to meet with Vladimir Putin. So Xi Jinping, this is really interesting. I was watching some news on this last night. Basically, Xi Jinping and China is trying to facilitate a peace deal with Ukraine and Russia. Now, the United States originally would be in this position of trying to figure out how we can work out a deal, because if the United States kind of breaks the deal, we are seen as like the world hegemonic power that is facilitating this deal with Russia and Ukraine, and we're like the peacemakers. Now China wants that position. They're like, hey, the United States is giving $100 billion to Ukraine. They're not really helping you out. They're not trying to find peace. They're just trying to make sure they defeat you guys by pumping their military with, the best weapons in the world and the best software in the world, aka Palantir. We want to actually come to the table and provide you a peace treaty that might work with Ukraine. And that means that Xi Jinping would also have to visit Kyiv and visit Zelensky, which, we'll see if Zelensky is down to visit him. But it goes back to China stepping into this new world order, or this new world order they believe that they want to manifest into the world, where they are the ones that are fixing some of the fundamental problems that exist in society. Because if China is calling the shots and brokering peace deals versus the United States, well, China just becomes a lot more what we call influential. And we're going to see if that happens. Can you give us a TLDR on why Trump might get arrested? Okay, so this is the funniest thing in the world. Michael Cohen paid Stormy Daniels $130,000 allegedly because to do stuff with Trump in the bedroom, I guess I'll say it that way. And then Trump paid Michael Cohen $130,000 and he expensed it as a legal expense. Basically, so Michael Cohen took his money, paid Stormy Daniels, who's a porn star. Trump was the one paying for the service, but he paid it to Michael Cohen as a legal expense. And so the way the financing on the campaigns work, you're not allowed to necessarily show that as a legal expense. And now he's being indicted or prosecuted for this. In general, if this was actually like to me, this is not something that it seems like requires jail time or someone being arrested. It's like one of those misdemeanor things you do in campaign finance law. But the district attorney of Manhattan in New York, it's easy to get indicted for anything. And the district attorney of Manhattan, one could argue, has some motivations to do this. Now, it is a crime at the end of the day. It's just a question of is this a crime that's worth being indicted for? And, I guess that's where it gets subjective. But it's really hard to imagine that someone's going to jail for a long time because of this. Now, there's a lot of other things that they're investigating him for. Now, I saw over the weekend as well, you can be the president from jail. If he got the Constitution does not prohibit someone being in jail, running for president, and getting elected. And I would imagine that if he got elected and he was in jail in 2024, the first thing you would do is pardon yourself and literally just get out of jail. But it is possible to do that. It's not like it's not possible to do that. Michael Cohen served in prison for it. Yeah, which is also why it's kind of weird that Trump's getting prosecuted for all this stuff. It's pretty wild. It was a campaign's finance charge. Yeah, that's basically what it was. And that's the thing. You're not allowed to do that when it comes to campaigns finance. You're not allowed to expense those types of things. And Michael Cohen already went to jail for this. He already took the fall. So the fact that Trump's getting prosecuted, it's just absolutely insane. It's absolutely insane. Okay, let's take one last look at the market before we're done for today. We have S&P at 392 going up. We got Nvidia 253 going down. We've got Bitcoin at 28,130 going up. We've got Amazon at 96 going down 3%. Microsoft also going down. Palantir going up just a little bit. Wejo down 20%. SoFi up a little bit at 0.3%, 549. Square 74, Tesla 182. And we've got Enphase at 195. Enphase up 6% running today as well. Lucid never recovered from their earnings debacle where they delivered 4,000 cars and made 7,000. That, yeah, Lucid's been in a tough situation. TradeDex at 57, NASDAQ 11,622, Netflix at 301, Pinterest 26. Yeah, relatively flat market this morning. Some things are up, some things are down. Nothing too crazy up, nothing too crazy down, other than First Republic and Wejo. Putting them in the same sentence. First Republic down 14%. I wouldn't recommend getting First Republic, even though it looks very attractive, because you don't know what's happening. However, there is a world in which First Republic, can easily just go right back up to 40. But I would not recommend it because it is a scary time to be betting on a bank like that, especially because if you bought Credit Suisse at $2 the other day because you were like, well, it can't get any worse than this. It got worse. And so it's a hard time to be in banking right now, but we're going to eventually see things play out. And I think the Fed's decision on Wednesday is going to decide a lot of things for where the rest of this economy goes. People in Manhattan committing armed robbery and worse being let go, pure politics. I would tend to agree. I mean, there's stuff that's happening in New York that doesn't get prosecuted, and we're prosecuting Trump for this. It seems a bit wild. Have you seen a thumbnail for a comedy show on Netflix in which Zelensky plays a guy who becomes president of Ukraine, then he becomes president of Ukraine? We are in some kind of goofy reality. That is insane. What do you mean? I thought you can't be president or run elections if you're convicted of a crime. I thought that as well, but that's not true. You can be in jail and run for and be elected president. It was an article on Newsweek, and Alan Dershowitz, who is a famous lawyer who he defended O.J. Simpson, defended Trump in the impeachment trial. He was arguing that is possible, and I kind of trust him because he's been a lawyer for like 70 years, and I think he knows what he's talking about. So it seems like you could do that, and Trump could theoretically be in jail and be elected, and then just pardon himself. I mean, it seems like that would happen. Amit, when are you starting the 5 topics a day? Okay, so I think I'm starting it tomorrow. Okay, so we're going to try to start tomorrow. So what we're going to do tomorrow, again, thank you all for being here. This concludes the morning open. I am going from 6 a.m. to 7 a.m. going to be live streaming on this channel. I'm going to be doing the Amit Kukraja show until we get a better name for it. And I'm going to be covering 5 topics at 8 minutes each. And that will be my videos for the day. So you can either watch them on the live stream all at once, or you can watch them as separate videos throughout the day and pick and choose which ones you want to watch asynchronously. But I think it's an easy way for me to get my videos out there, and it's a cool way to actually create the content I want to create in terms of covering all the topics. And then we'll be doing the live stream at 9:20 as well. So we're going to do the morning stream from 6 to 7, then live stream from 9:20 to 10. Then we'll have those videos throughout the day, and then we'll have late night stock talks at night with me and Chris from 9 to 10. So let's see if we can do it. I think it's relatively easy because I have the topics. It's just harder to find the time to make the videos. But if I just sit down and do a live stream and the videos are done, I'm like, oh, that's like that. Boom. That's a simple way to do it. So going to be seeing if we can try it out tomorrow. Can't wait for the morning cowbell. Maybe we should call it that. The morning cowbell. Maybe we should just call it that. That might be worse. Switch your outfits in between topics. I might have to do that as well. Amit, you can leave your chair. Let the live chat continue. You guys are hilarious, bro. All the mean the world, the jokes today were also hilarious. It means the world. All right, that's it for me. Chicken Genius bought $300K for Palantir. Yes, he did. I'm going to message him on Twitter and ask if he can get him on the channel so we can talk about him with Palantir. That'll be super, super dope if we can get him. All right, thank you, everybody. I appreciate you guys. It means the world for you being here. Morning cowbell probably starting tomorrow. I'll see you then. And late night stock talks tonight with me and Chris. Lots to talk about. I'll see you then as well. Are you going live all day Wednesday with the Fed? Probably, because we got to cover the Fed. So, yeah, that day is going to be a big day to go live. So, probably. All right, everybody. Thank you all for being here. See you later today. Good night. Have a great day.